Hello and welcome to this course on information retrieval. I'm really excited to present this um, course to you. I'm an enthusiast of search. In fact, information retrieval is the task of performing search, and these days we cannot live without search engines. So let's um, so today's agenda is to give you a gentle introduction about information retrieval and also to give you a hint of what to expect in this course. A little bit about me before getting into information retrieval. So I had the privilege of working at top two search engine companies between 2009 and 2013. That is Yahoo and Microsoft's Bing team. From there, I picked up a lot of interest in search, and ever since have been studying, teaching, or researching in information retrieval. Uh, um, a lot of content that I'm going to discuss as part of this course is borrowed from the companion website and the textbook written by Manning et al. So here is the link. I encourage you. A free copy of this book is available online as well for those who can't get a printed version of it. But I strongly recommend to purchase a printed version and read. Okay, I don't have to tell you what a search engine is. If you are watching me on a platform like YouTube, you already know how to Google and what Googling is about, what search is about. And nowadays we can hardly imagine a life without search engines. And there are many search engines. We have Google, we have Bing, we have Yahoo, and so on. All of them are really interesting and do a very interesting job of retrieving or searching amongst a huge volume of content and getting the response in sub-second time. But how do they do this? In fact, I still remember when I was interviewed at Yahoo. So I just entered their office, and the first question I got was, okay, so do you know what search engines are? I said, of course, yes, I know what search engine is. And then the second question was, can you explain how search engine works? And that was a googly. I said, oh, come on, that's out of syllabus. I don't know how search engines work. Um, you know, Writing an algorithm for search is probably easy. I know how binary search works, for instance, but how would Google work? How can they return? How can they search among trillions of documents and respond within sub-second? How is that possible? So that was the trigger then to study information retrieval, and ever since there has been a lot of interesting thing to ponder in the field of information retrieval. Information retrieval, by the way, is not confined only to search engines. Search engines in the sense of web search. You can see them in many different situations as well. Here are some examples of search happening in a specific company or a specific industry. For example, if you take banking, almost all the banks these days have some product to sell, let's say some fixed deposit product or some loan or some credit card and so on, and they usually have a search button to navigate through their website. Morgan Stanley, and this list of examples just goes on. Sports, travel, and entertainment are no different. Go to ESPN Cricinfo, you'll see a search bar there. If you want to travel, you want to book a ticket, I'm sure you would have done some search to find, let's say, the cheapest ticket, the fastest mode of travel, and so on. And these are all specialized types of searches which happen every day by millions of users like us. But how do these things happen? That's really interesting to discuss, and that's the focus of this course. Um, Entertainment industry is no different. It has changed the way we watch movies these days. We no more go to shops, rent out some VCRs and cassettes, video cassettes. Instead, nowadays we just watch streaming content through Prime Video or Netflix or YouTube and so on. But then a precursor to that is to be able to search the content that is available. And there again, search plays a big role. Search is there in education, search is there in healthcare. The retail e-commerce, for instance, has picked up really huge. It's on fire these days. And who has not done a purchase on Amazon or Flipkart or any such online platform? These in fact I should say search enables these kind of interesting applications. And without search, it's extremely hard to imagine a life that we are enjoying these days. Just because of the this widespread presence of search, there is no wonder that we have huge demand for engineers to create the search infrastructure and maintain it. So here are some results that I got when I did a LinkedIn job search on the 18th of June 2020. And I'm pretty convinced that whichever day it is in the, let's say 3-4 years down in the future, you just go to LinkedIn, and if you search, I'm sure you are going to find lots of job openings in this domain. It's how hot this area is, and we are in constant need for people with the right talent and skills for maintaining search engines. So what goes behind these search engines? What are the kind of things that one should know to maintain these search engines? So these are all part of this course. So let's start with a fundamental question: what is information retrieval? um, Everything starts with an information need, right? So let's say it's an admission season, and I want to know more about CMI. What would I do? So I'll probably go to a web search engine and type out CMI, and I'll get lots of documents. So let's say web has lots of documents. Web is a huge collection of documents. Let's say D1 is some document which is about IIT Madras, D2 is about CMI, and so on. So we expect to retrieve relevant results from the collection of documents that we have, and hopefully that collection which result answers my original information need about CMI. The textbook definition goes like this: information retrieval is about finding material, usually documents of an unstructured nature, usually text, that satisfies an information need from within large collections. So there are several things to notice in this definition that Manning uses in his IR book. The first thing is, of course, the unstructured nature of the content that we are searching. So if we instead had structured content which is sitting in a nice database, then we would probably use a SQL query to go and do the search. But what to do with these unstructured documents? So loads and loads of HTML files or text content lying out there. What do I do? How do I search them? And also it's about an information need. So there are lots of problems on this side. How do I even convert an information need into a good query? So it starts from there. And then how do I build a retrieval system which understands what the query is about, and then how does it match with the collection of documents that it has? And what about efficiency? How can it come up with such a fast response? And how do I present the results? How do I know how good my system is? The questions abound here. There are so many things to learn, and building such a nice retrieval system is not going to be easy at all. Okay, so let's take some baby steps before we get into retrieving information. Fundamentally, what is information, right? For this course, we are not going to deal with information as in the sense of Shannon's definition of information, or Fisher's information, or Neumann's entropy. You just, if you go to the literature, you will see different definitions of information in various contexts. For us, information is simply any entity or form that provides the answer to a question of some kind or resolves uncertainty. So that's the simple definition of information that we are going to go with. All I care is if I have a need, and if I can formulate it through some words in a query, can I find relevant documents? So that's all I'm asking. So from that perspective, as long as my need is met, I assume that my retrieval system is good. So that's what information is for me. Information plays a huge role in our lives. If only we could retrieve the right information at the right time. So let's say which stock to invest in, which faculty to work with, how to get into a top college, which course to register for, what to study, how to prepare for job interviews. If only we, every day we come up with a situation where we had loads and loads of questions, and if only we had the right answers at the right time, if only we could retrieve the right information, we could, there is no bounds to what we could achieve in life, isn't it? So if only you had the information, you could just rule this world. Okay, have you ever wondered what happens if we don't have any information? This entire world, if it is deprived of information, what happens to you? Have you ever wondered about it? Well, this is what happens to you. So this is called solitary confinement. Nothing moves around you. There is hardly anything to see, hear, smell. Um, when there is no change around you, there is no information for you. It's really, really cruel. They say this is so cruel that it is next only to the capital punishment, which is death. Right, so you don't want to be in a situation where there is no information. Luckily, we have so much information around us. The only problem is we don't know how to retrieve the right information from the volume of information that we are surrounded with. Uh, just to give you an example, look at this. Way back in 300 BC, we had the Royal Library of Alexandria. So people at that age thought that sharing information was necessary. They had some information to share even in 300 BC. That's amazing to know. And from then, the idea of libraries developed. Some of us might have even visited a British library in their own country. It has more than about 200 million books or artifacts. But then it was in the late 1970s when the digital libraries revolution took place. We had projects like Universal Digital Library and Project Gutenberg. So they realized that it's we have so much information that access to physical information in the form of books or papers or CDs is very, very restrictive. We should have some way to go and search them digitally over the web or through some interface. uh, so that was a game-changing idea in this field, and in 1998, Google started contributing to this field heavily, and then we have been having several search engines. Now I believe Google indexes more than 40 trillion documents. Not even 40, 140 I should say. It had 30 trillion documents in 98 itself, and about 130 trillion in 2016. So that's the volume of information that we now have available with us. It's only our ability to search them that that is restricting us from getting to the right information we need. So let me give you an overview of this course, an overview of this field, to be specific. Uh, Everything starts with understanding the user queries. So user has an information need and he wants to issue a query which he hopes can be satisfied through a retrieval system. But how would a retrieval system satisfy a query? Uh, Usually in a web search scenario, we crawl the web, we collect the documents, and we process those documents and store it in a form which makes the documents easier to or more efficient to search. So we call that process indexing, and we create an index of the content we have. Once we have this, usually this content is really huge, so we worry about things like index compression. So now we have everything that we need to respond to the query. So when user query comes in, we could do some kind of relevance and ranking. So we match the query to the documents that we have. So we call that as relevance matching. And once we have the right kind of documents, we want to rank our results so that users can go top down looking at the results and see if the information need is met. But that's not the end of the story. We are worried about how good our retrieval model is, our retrieval system is, and we want to evaluate our system. So we ask questions like, is Google better than Bing, or Bing better than Google? How good is my retrieval model? To answer these kind of questions, we need some techniques. One example is, human judges sitting there and taking the same query and looking at the content manually and judging which of the documents should be written, and the retrieval system automatically returning or doing the same job, and the judges would then compare if the documents returned by the system is as good as what they would have done manually. So that's one example, but unfortunately, this manual uh, assessment of our retrieval system is not scalable. So we need some automated techniques to do that. It's not just about scale. Even if they had to do this manually, they need to have some metrics on how to compare the retrieval systems. So they all get covered into this umbrella of subtopics under evaluation techniques. Uh, so this is just to give you a brief introduction to what information retrieval is all about. What are the kind of things that you can expect to hear as part of this course. Thankfully, we this area is now so mature. We have several software frameworks and technologies in place that make our life easier. So nowadays, to set up a search engine, it doesn't take years, it just takes days, thanks to frameworks like Lucene, Solar. We can set up a search engine very quickly. Nutch is a crawler. You just configure and tell Nutch what kind of things to do, what are the seed URLs, and so on, and then and just say crawl, and it has all the algorithms that is required to go ahead and crawl. There have been several implementations of search infrastructure. So we have Terrier from the University of Glasgow, Lemur projects like Gallego and Indri from UMass and CMU, and there are many more. So thanks to these, we no more have to focus on very fundamental problems of how do I match query to documents and so on. Rather, I can focus on higher or more complicated problems. So what do I mean by more complex problems? Here is an example. So nowadays, if you go to any search engine, any established web search engine, let's say, and type a celebrity's name like Amitabh Bachchan, you the search engine understands that you want to learn more about Amitabh Bachchan. You're not interested in looking at documents which contain the words Amitabh and Bachchan anymore. What you want to do is rather know about Amitabh Bachchan. So they do all the hard work for you, and they give you this nice thing called as an info box, where they give you information about Amitabh Bachchan in a very very structured way. So there is no document which has exact same organization and the same contents, and this is not, I'm not searching and getting a document and opening up that document and showing you the contents over here. Rather, what Google and Bing are doing is they are collecting the knowledge, organizing the knowledge, understanding your query, and presenting that knowledge in a very interesting way. So we are able to solve such bigger, nicer problems because there is infrastructure to deal with easier, more straightforward, simpler problems. So what are those simpler problems? What do these technologies do? And now what is the road ahead? So these are precisely what we want to discuss in this course. Um, I want to finish with the note that it's not just the industry or the academia, it's both, in fact, which are really serious about this fast growing field. Just look at who is contributing to the research papers. We have Google, we have Amazon, we have Microsoft Research. The leading industries are contributing heavily to the research in this domain. Not to say that academia is silent. The academia and the research labs are equally into this, as I was showing you some of the technologies that have come from the universities. So this is a really hot field. Lot of developments are happening from both academia and the industry, and the problems have only grown, and we have more and more need for skilled people, skilled students like you. So I hope you will enjoy this course, and let us strive to build better search experiences through the study of information retrieval. These are the resources that we would use in this course. I strongly recommend getting hold of this book, Introduction to Information Retrieval by Christopher Manning, Prabhakar Raghavan, and Henry Schutz. And I might refer to some part of this book written by Bruce Croft, Donald, and Trevor, Search Engines Information Retrieval in Practice. With that, I stop here, and I hope to look forward to discuss with you about information retrieval in depth. Thank you.